There's a quiet exhaustion that comes from constantly explaining yourself, not the kind that shows on your face, the kind that settles into your chest. You explain your choices, your feelings, your boundaries, your silence. You explain why you're tired, why you said no, why you changed, why you're no longer who you used to be. And yet, no matter how carefully you choose your words, no matter how gently you speak, it never seems to be enough. Have you ever noticed that? That the more you explain, the less understood you feel? Carl Jung once wrote, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." But what if constantly explaining yourself is the very thing preventing that becoming? What if your need to be understood is quietly erasing your inner authority? And what if the moment you stop explaining yourself, everything changes? In Jungian philosophy, there's a profound understanding that most people never confront. Much of our suffering does not come from what happened to us. It comes from how we learn to survive it. We learn to explain ourselves to stay safe, to be acceptable, to avoid rejection. And over time, explanation became a habit, then a reflex, then an identity. Depth psychology reveals something uncomfortable. The compulsion to justify your existence is not politeness. It is a wound formed when your inner truth was not welcomed, when your feelings were questioned, when your boundaries were negotiated instead of respected. This video is not about arrogance, not about emotional withdrawal, not about becoming cold. This is about individuation, the Jungian process of becoming whole, of reclaiming inner authority, of choosing who you become. And it begins in silence. Ask yourself this honestly: when did I learn that my no was not enough? Most people start explaining themselves very early in life. You didn't just say no. You said no and explained why. You didn't just feel hurt. You justified the hurt. You didn't just exist. You proved you deserved to. In Jungian therapy, this behavior often emerges from a fractured relationship with the inner self. When your inner truth was dismissed, you learned to outsource validation. So you talk and talk and talk, not because you want to be heard, but because you fear what happens if you're not. Carl Jung warned that when the ego depends on external approval, the self retreats into the unconscious mind, and something vital is lost. Imagine a person who carries a scale everywhere they go. Every interaction, they place themselves on it. Was I too much? Too quiet? Too direct? Too distant? They adjust. They explain. They recalibrate. But the scale is broken. No matter how they weigh themselves, it never balances. One day, exhausted, they stop carrying it. And something strange happens. Nothing collapses. No catastrophe occurs. No one dies. They remain. That is the moment inner authority begins. The need to explain yourself is not a moral trait. It is a psychological adaptation. But what once protected you may now be imprisoning you. And individuation always begins with awareness. Carl Jung introduced the concept of persona, the social mask we wear to function in the world. The persona is not evil, but it becomes dangerous when it replaces the self. If you're always explaining yourself, ask, who am I performing for? Because explanation is often performance. You become the reasonable one, the understanding one, the one who never causes discomfort. And beneath that mask, resentment, fatigue, a quiet grief. Jung wrote, the persona is what one is not, but what oneself as well as others think one is. When you over-explain, you are negotiating your right to exist, and that negotiation never ends. Imagine signing a contract you never read. It says, I will be acceptable as long as I explain myself. I will be loved as long as I justify my needs. I will belong as long as I do not unsettle others. Years pass. You forget you signed it, but the debt remains. Stopping explanation is how you void the contract. When you stop explaining yourself, people may feel uncomfortable. That discomfort is not your responsibility. It is the sound of persona dissolving. Here's the part most people avoid. The fear behind explanation is not social. It is existential. In Jungian psychology, the shadow contains everything you were told was unacceptable: anger, autonomy, self-trust, power. Silence forces you to confront the shadow, because when you don't explain, you risk being misunderstood. And being misunderstood means you are no longer controlling the narrative. The ego fears that, but the mature soul understands something deeper. You do not need to be understood to be whole. A river does not explain its direction. It does not justify its speed. It does not ask permission to flow. It simply moves. And everything realigns around it. Silence is not absence. It is alignment. Shadow work is not about becoming darker. It is about reclaiming what was buried. And silence is where buried truth breathes again. Carl Jung described individuation as the process of becoming who you truly are, not who you were conditioned to be. Here's the paradox. The more individuated you become, the less you feel the need to explain yourself, not because you don't care, but because you trust your inner truth. Inner authority does not argue. It does not persuade. It does not perform. It stands. And when you stand, the world responds differently. Some people leave. Some resist. Some attempt to provoke explanation. Let them. Jung wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." Privileges are rarely comfortable. A mountain does not move to convince the valley of its height. It simply exists, and its presence changes the weather. You are not required to narrate your transformation. You are allowed to become quietly. This is where everything shifts. When you stop explaining yourself, manipulation loses power. Boundary testing ends. Emotional parasites disengage. Clarity replaces chaos. Not because you became harsh, but because you became congruent. Empaths often struggle here. Highly sensitive souls were taught to over-explain to stay safe. But Jungian philosophy reminds us, sensitivity without boundaries becomes self-betrayal. Silence restores balance. Imagine carrying a lantern through a dark forest. At first, you hold it high, explaining the light to everyone. Eventually, you lower it, not to hide it, but to walk. And those meant to see it will. When you stop explaining yourself, you stop abandoning yourself. And something ancient inside you exhales. You are not what happened to you. You are not the wounds, not the misunderstandings, not the survival strategies. You are what you choose to become. And choosing yourself does not require explanation. Carl Jung understood that the mature soul outgrows justification. He wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Stopping explanation is consciousness in action. It is not withdrawal. It is return to your center, to your integrity, to your inner truth. If something in this stirred you, don't rush away. Sit with it. Notice where you still feel the urge to explain yourself. And ask gently, who am I trying to convince? If you're ready to continue this inward journey into Carl Jung's wisdom, shadow work, individuation, and the psychology of the unconscious mind, stay here. There is more waiting, not outside, within, and you've already taken the first step.